Hello everybody, Father Andrew here. Now, this is not an easy topic to discuss at all. I'm going to be talking from experience here too, so it's going to get a bit personal, and I'm going to be talking about my past feelings and how I resolved them. Also, disclaimer, I'll clarify that I am not a psychological professional, so all advice given in this video is simply what worked for me, so I'm going to put it out here for those who it may help. So obviously no guarantee that it's going to work for everyone. Anyway, besides all that, I'll admit straight up, I used to struggle with pretty serious self-hatred issues, which was to a chronic degree. I was burned out from constantly pushing on giant projects all day every day, literally unable to see any positives in my work because I never felt like enough, barely able to sleep until around 1 or 2 AM, then waking up at 11 or 12, which near enough the middle of the day, due to a completely broken sleep schedule, regularly being reminded of cringe shit I did when I was young, either having no dreams or nightmares, and constant horrific intrusive thoughts that kept throwing me off all day and night. However, in spite of all of that, I did find a way to get through them all. How I did so being the advice I'm going to give you now in the form of a few steps, which will hopefully get you through whatever you're going through. Step 1 of which is self-introspection, which may take some trial and error, but that's okay. Each thing you evaluate is going to narrow down what it could be if you don't get it the first time. Anyway, firstly, you need to identify 3 major things. First is how you actually feel. Second of all is what's actually upsetting you, and thirdly, how is it upsetting you. This first step is pretty important because it allows you to identify if your self-hatred is stemming from internal or external issues. For example, applying those 3 questions to myself. 1. How did I feel? I used to absolutely hate myself and felt worthless because nothing I did ever felt like it was enough. As for why, I hated myself for years because no matter how much I achieved, how much I did, or how hard I worked, I never felt like I was going to actually do anything meaningful or achieve anything, and was doomed to be stuck in second place at best, never having any real impact. Which led to an extremely bitter jealousy and a genuine hatred of anyone I saw as better than myself, which in turn led to a doom spiral of excessive grinding and working just to surpass someone who I felt I needed to surpass to have any real value. Which in turn led to a dreadful cycle of burnout and hating myself for being burned out. Why can't I just work harder? Am I really that useless, being how I used to think about myself? And in a few cases I actually managed to surpass someone, it then left me empty because there was no joy or passion in doing that to begin with. And then there's the third question, how is it upsetting me exactly, or where did this view stem from? It's because I kept comparing myself to the success of others, which made me subsequently downplay my own achievements in comparison as if they were just a given or expected, just average, normal, nothing of note. Because someone somewhere was always ahead of me, somewhere, so what value did a second-rate, second-place nobody have in comparison to them? I used to say nothing. I'd always say, their work is objectively better, even if such a concept is literally impossible to apply. Like in art, for example, human preference and taste means there's essentially no best objective artwork. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder or something like that. What is a 10 out of 10 for one person could easily be a 5 or a 2 out of 10 for another, just on preference alone. Which brings us on to step 2 and 3, your plan of approach and taking the steps to fix it. Once you have an idea of how you actually feel, what's upsetting you and how it's upsetting you, then you move on to step 2. You need to figure out a plan to challenge the reasons you hate yourself. This may involve reevaluation a bit, so keep that in mind. In my case, I realized that I was, in summary, chasing external validation the entire time and not seeing value in myself outside of my work. Because I made what I do, achieve, how much I do, my entire sense of self-worth. So I decided to expand my self-view beyond that, identify positive traits about myself outside of my work to then build a sense of self-worth beyond what I do. Which brings me on to step 3. I sat down and slowly accumulated a decently sized list of positive traits via self-introspection and looking at myself. Eventually, I had the entire list written out. I enjoy learning new things in general, I'm curious, observant, I have a good taste in media, I'm casual and friendly, I'm creative, etc. The list goes on. But as I was writing the list, I realized that while I'm acknowledging my positive traits, I can't let my flaws hold me back on developing my sense of self-worth, or run from them either, as that would just make it worse. So after doing some introspection in that regard, I also decided to find positive aspects of those too, those being my flaws, and put them in the list as well. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm kinda lazy, but that's okay, not everything needs 100% go-go all the time. I can be a bit deranged at times, but in a good way. It allows me to spawn some pretty good ideas. I can get a bit confused and not sure what I want at times, but that's okay, not everyone knows what they want all the time. But ultimately, reframing my flaws as part of myself and accepting them instead of running from them or being ashamed of them helped me feel better about myself somewhat. However, the flaws I could not find positives for, like the rampant perfectionism that did all this damage in the first place for example, made me realize that I need to not let them drag me down regardless, and acknowledge them, even if they are a pure negative. They don't inherently and completely invalidate my worth as a person, which made me feel significantly better. Like, sure, I have issues, I'm not perfect, but you know what, nobody is, and those who pretend to be otherwise are probably just on a front to sell you something. Hell, personally I could lose some weight and tone up myself, ideally I could go outside more often and hit the gym, maybe cut back on sugar and drinking too while I'm at it. I've already got one tooth filling, the last thing I need is more of them, but besides that, I had to ultimately expand my self-view, accept that I am more than my work and my grades or whatever, and that despite my flaws I'm still someone who has inherent value. And that my flaws don't fully define me and they're just part of me and ultimately everyone has them. And that it's okay to stop and pace yourself, and if needed, reconsider something if it's too ambitious, which on that note is why I had to change how some larger projects were going, but anyway, beside that. Now that brings us on to step 4, internalizing your self-worth. Honestly, there's quite a few ways to go about this one. You can try positive self-affirmations, giving yourself permission to relax, calling out your toxic self-talk to prevent it coming back, being kind to yourself and not stressing about your flaws too much, challenging any unkind thoughts about yourself that show up, keeping away from comparing yourself to others, practicing saying no to people or things that demand too much, overall doing things for yourself, using a gratitude diary, building a support network with people you trust who back you up and support you, focusing on positive relationships, setting yourself some reasonable challenges, all of that among lots of other things. I recommend most of the list I just went through, however personally, just do whatever feels right to you, and if it doesn't work, just try the others to see if they do anything. However, the one thing you should avoid doing is self-coddling. You need to internalize your self-worth and find joy in that rather than trying to fill your mind with dopamine by doing things that are addictive. Like, self-care is actually looking at yourself and appreciating yourself, not eating an entire tub of ice cream to yourself, or binging a series on Netflix and browsing TikTok just to fill yourself with as much dopamine as possible, because that risks trapping you in a cycle of addictive behaviors instead of actually fixing your problems. But anyway, besides that, I personally decided to do a few extra things myself in addition to some of the things we went over on the list. The first thing is I made positive affirmation notes and stuck them on a corkboard in my bedroom. That way every day I get to read them and be reminded that I have value, as I am for who I am, giving me a better mindset when I start the day or go to bed. They're essentially just physical reminders for the aforementions we mentioned on the list. 2, if I get too stressed with a project and it's not fun anymore, I stop and walk away, take a break, do something else I feel is fun, and then come back to it when I feel calmer again. This takes a lot of stress off my shoulders and helps me overall think clearer. I also don't force myself to rush through a project either, because that would defeat the point. Breaks are and will always be okay. 3, if it's my approach to a project that's too stressful, or if I have too high of a set of expectations for it, I stop, reconsider if it's too ambitious, or if there's some better way to go about it, or if I'm missing something, which has saved me a lot of stress, because if I'm gonna be honest, I have a tendency to overlook easier ways to get something done, or if I'm pushing too hard, so stopping to reevaluate ultimately helps me prevent doing both of those quite a lot. Because not everything needs to be 100% effort all the time, there is such a thing as good enough. 4, I pace myself. I don't set arbitrary deadlines, I give myself time. I always give myself time to do a project, primarily because if I want something to be of quality, I prefer to take my time and make sure it's good, instead of rushing something out and it being disappointing with the results. This takes a lot of pressure off and overall helps me do things, like making these videos for you guys, and it makes it fun like it's supposed to be, because ultimately anything good takes time and that's okay. Anyway, all 4 of these and some of the ones on the list, they come together to validate my sense of self, set a comfortable pace, and take off as much pressure as possible, preventing me from ending up back in the perfectionism validation seeking loop again. And with these 4 major steps, I managed to work through my immense self-hatred and learn to love myself for who I am, flaws and all, because I am me and that's okay. The same goes for you. You are you, and that's okay. Love yourself for just being you, like I learned to. I hope this video helped you in some way if you needed it, and if you need it again, it will still be here later. You can always watch this again if you need, both on YouTube and BitChute. But anyway, I hope this video helped. I don't really have anything else to say here, so goodbye and take care.